Why it's harder for millennials to buy houses. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, let's look at this article from Domain. So one graph that shows why it's harder for millennials to buy a house. Now, I may look like a Gen X, but I am technically a millennial. I'm a geriatric millennial, one of the older ones. So let's have a look. That's it, guys. Millennials are hitting 40. Home ownership is looking further out of reach for anyone without family wealth, as property prices soar and wages fail to keep up. One graph from the Reserve Bank lays bare the challenges facing today's first home hopefuls, showing the extraordinary growth in housing prices compared to incomes over the past 30 years. Well, there's no surprise here. Property is what everyone invests in Australia. Even if we get a correction, people are asking me, are we going to see, will we see a 50% property correction? I can't see it happening. There's no political will. I can see government intervention. I can see housing stalling for some time without the insane growth, maybe a decade of no growth, but I can't see it correcting. I mean, that's the correction. You get a decade of inflation and housing will just sit there. So, in the early 1990s, house prices hovered around 2.5 times household disposable income, but now the same metric tracks around 5.5. Years of predominantly falling interest rates have fueled the boom, allowing households to borrow more and bid up prices, then use their rising equity to upsize to a bigger home or buy an investment property. At the same time, the supply of new homes has not kept up with demand, economists say. I think this is the biggest issue, is our supply. And for that, you've got to blame the not in my backyard crowd. You've got to blame the onerous red tape and green tape from councils and government, just limiting development and the opportunity to expand. And I know people love to blame developers for trickle-feeding land out, but if you open up more land, you've got more developers, you'll have more competition. So, there's that thing, competition. I know the people who want the equal society with benefits for some. No. You want a merit-based society with competition. It'd be great to see that. The two main constraints are: can I afford the deposit, and can I afford the repayments? Grattan Institute Household Finances Program Director Bernard Coates said, "At the moment, the deposit hurdle is the number one hurdle. Once somebody has bought, the interest cost on their mortgage today will sit at historically low levels, and mortgage rates on offer starting with a 2 are the envy of previous generations who remember when the cash rate hit 17.5% in 1990. Yeah, okay. But that's a bullshit comparison. What you are paying now for a deposit is what they could have bought a house for. Okay, that's the difference. That is the difference. And back then, you would be actually earning money on the money you have at a bank. There's this thing. You put cash in a bank and you may get 0.12%. It's literally losing money all the time with inflation. Or you have to jump through 50 stupid bloody hoops to get 1.25% or whatever, like I am from ING. Back in the day, people would get interest. They'd put their money in the bank and they get 5% interest, 10% interest, just insane amounts of interest for doing nothing. But renters now are quick to point out that cheap mortgages are little help when it comes to saving 20% of the median house price in major capital cities, which comes to nearly $300,000 in Sydney or $208,000 in Melbourne. These are deposit prices, guys. That's 13,628 plates of avocado toast. Oh, well, actually, you know what? Let's we did a previous video where we looked at what is it? 300,000 divided by 300. What was the pack of smokes? Hang on. Where is it? How much house will a carton buy? There we go. 332. So, not even 1,000 packs of smokes are the deposit in Sydney, guys. So if you smoke a pack a week, that's a lot a week. That's 10 years of smoking, but still, stop smoking, save money, buy a house. Anyway. Or more likely an inheritance from the grandparents or a gift or guarantee from the bank of mum and dad. Even RBA Assistant Governor Lucy Ellis said last month that people whose parents rented are going to be in a much more difficult situation to actually get into a housing themselves. Mr. Coates noted that home ownership rates have fallen for younger people, but the biggest hurdle are among lower-income young people. If you're a lower-income earner and you don't have wealthy parents, that can help you out. Things look very bleak, he said. Well, yeah, that's the reality of it. Sadly, you need to get out of lower income. You need to get better skills. You need to find better ways to earn money. Or you need to work more. That's the hard reality. Australia's changed, guys. So, that's a problem. Will get worse unless we act, and the consequences of that will be really long-lasting. Falling rates of home ownership will remake Australian society. It's already happening. For example, building new homes that meet demand can blunt soaring house price growth, but spatially constrained cities such as Sydney, built out from the ocean to the mountains, need a planning system that enables more density, he suggests. CoreLogic head of Residential Research Australia, Eliza Owen, said changes to the financial system to let homeowners leverage their equity to buy more properties has prompted faster house price rises relative to income growth. The way that our financial arrangements are structured around housing has allowed it to really depart from income growth and tie more to growth in wealth, she said. A lot of the demand has stemmed from the ability to access equity, she said, whether for parents to buy property in part ownership with their children or the ability to inherit property. Home buyers without family help may have to make decisions about density or distance or moving away from family or network, she said. She acknowledged the human toll of the era of high interest rates, which forced some mortgage holders to slash spending, take on multiple jobs, or even lose their homes. But interest rates were high because inflation was high, meaning wages were also increasing, helping many pay down their mortgages over time, she said. So wages growth has been sluggish. In recent years, up just 2.2% over the year to September on Australian Bureau of Statistics figures, while capital city property prices rose 21.7% over the same period, the ABS said. The current housing market upswing has been the fastest on record, CoreLogic said, meaning anyone trying to purchase in the pandemic has found prices getting further away from them. Ms. Owens highlighted the federal government's scheme to help first home buyers purchase without parental help, the First Home Loan Deposit Scheme, which enables the purchase of a modest home up to a set price with a deposit of only 5%. The government is reissuing up to 4,651 unused places in the scheme that were not taken up during the pandemic. AMP Capital Chief Economist Shane Oliver said as interest rates have fallen, buyers are also taking on more debt compared to incomes. Given that people have to have such a massive amount of debt, they're lumbered with that debt for much longer, he said. Normally when interest rates go down, housing prices go up. Developers would be inspired to build more property, and they did. They've built more property, they just haven't built enough of them. Even someone borrowing at the highest interest rate in 1990 would have been able to get their debt servicing ratio under control relatively quickly because wages were rising at about 4 to 5%, giving them more spending power, he said, in contrast to today's subdued wages growth. He tips that mortgage rates have reached their lowest point, meaning the tailwind for property price growth has also ended. Well, yeah, we're not going to see negative rates here in Australia, guys. If interest rates started trending up, it could ultimately pave the way for more affordable housing. We'll have to see. So let's have a talk about this one, guys. So there we go. Why it's harder for millennials to buy houses. What do you reckon? I think the issue is we're not going to see any change in the housing landscape here in Australia unless there's a radical political change. It doesn't look like Labor are going to come to the election with anything radical or dramatic. I suspect, both sides of politics use housing as a way to stimulate their economy. I can't see that changing. And I suspect once people inherit housing, you're going to have an even larger majority of people that want to maintain the status quo. Hopefully, we need to educate and encourage more people to appreciate that housing and this obsession we have with property here in Australia, this drug that is housing, is going to limit our economic complexity and the innovation of our country. What do you reckon, guys? Let me know your take on that one in the comments below. If you're a millennial trying to get into housing, well, you need to get money from your parents. You need to move somewhere where you wouldn't normally consider. You need to work harder than previous generations. Not fair. It's not a free market. The cards are stacked against you. That's Australia. Anyway, guys, check out this video I did about, well, Evergrande collapsed to crush the Australian economy. Just a little bit more interesting news. We'll have to see if that plays through or if it peters out. Take care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.